but let's take 10 generations at a time. We lost most of our people in every one of those time segments. Even in 1939, we were just a few million more than we are now.
But what about through intermarriage? In those days, there wasn't that much intermarriage.
You say this.
In the 30s, no?
Look at the math. Maybe in the 30s there wasn't so much intermarriage, but let's say the 500 years, or think it by millennia. We're basically the same population we were 2,000-3,000 years ago.
Also, it's a crisis now that there are so many single Jews that are not even getting married and having children. That's a whole nother crisis.
It is
going on. That's separate from the intermarriage.
I'm sort of disagreeing with you. What you're stating as an observation, I'm thinking of as historiography. It's part of our narrative that we have this crisis in intermarriage, in assimilation, in whatever else. But in Canada, it's even worse than America. In intermarriage in Canada, I've seen it like 70%. If there wasn't
You're losing Jews.
If there wasn't a certain consistency to this process of losing Jews throughout the generations, from 2,000 years ago to today, then we would be like the Chinese. We'd be 1 billion or 4 billion.
Interesting point.
That's no good. We would, according to 10%, according to one secular historian, we were 10% of the Jewish of the Roman Empire before the Adriatic catastrophe.
So you're saying what? This is the thinning of the herd, or it's normal, or it's a normal
a series of hormones,
right? Destruction
plus the silent korban that we think is unique to our generation. I don't think. What I'm saying is I don't think it's unique to this generation. I think it's a phenomenon that has happened repeatedly.
Right.
And
the Hellenists, the Jews that became Hellenists.
Right. And in the Middle Ages, you see very limited population growth through most of it, and then strong population growth in certain centuries. So I think it's periodic and episodic. I don't think it's just.
But now there's new things happening that never happened before. Non-Jews coming to Kabbalah in droves.
That's not Judaism.
Well, I have to comment on you saying it's a new thing.
No, but at least they're interested in something new in their lives, something new to inspire them.
Mr. Strachey, are you saying that like there's that there's a wave of converts that's unprecedented?
I think so.
Oh, I think it's a matter of if you build it, they will come, and that's also there's been a growth in Torah that's unprecedented, so it's more accessible in general.
Okay.
Going back to what you're saying, I think as long as there are more than 10 Jews in the world will continue to exist.
Baruch Hashem.
I'm thinking of Lot here.
Yeah.
Or Lot.
Still, there's a crisis.
It's a crisis, but I think we're strict of sanity in the world.
You know, the crisis is people don't talk about what Judaism really is about.
That's for sure.
They talk about, trying to study writings and teachings, but it's really an inner process, and it's connecting to the oneness of everything that exists. And we say the oneness is God, and we don't explain it clearly enough, and that's why people leave in droves, because they don't understand. It's a spiritual process, and unless you've had a spiritual experience, it doesn't make sense.
I agree with you about the spiritual experience,
yeah.
but I think the majority are blinded to that experience.
Yes.
Yeah, but people get tired after a while of how much money you can make, how much pleasure you can have, how much food you can eat, how much sex you can have, how much pleasure you can have, how much television you can watch, how much movies, how many DVDs, what's the next. After a while, the human condition has to have more. It's just so much you can have.
I want to ask you a question. I was in a class, and the speaker briefly said that the Lubavitcher Rebbe said that the world currently, he was speaking back when he was alive, currently is not a vessel for holiness. It is a vessel for darkness. I want to know, do you have any comments on that?
He said millions of things. He took it out of context. The Rebbe said millions of things, so I don't know where he got it from.
But before, I think after 1991, he said, now the world is ready. It's up to us.
Yes, now the world is ready. He says now it's
up to
woman.
us to
He also said publicly
into
women should start learning Gemara.
Really?
Yeah, publicly
He
came out.
started.
Publicly
For
came
what
out.
purpose?
He says that the time of Mashiach is getting closer, and this famous saying that when Mashiach comes, the woman will encompass the man, whatever that means. Says that the woman is the crown of her husband, that the crown is on top of a man's intelligence. Woman has bina, so like pro-female things and saying. It's explaining that the process that's going on, that the time of Mashiach prophecy will return. So a lot of things. A lot of things are in process.
Dave?
You had to ask the whole table. I'm not the teacher.
Okay, I
Just
got
the
it.
moderator.
I'll ask everybody.
I'm the moderator.
I want to talk about the Jewish population being small. And I think that God did it on purpose, because how can you prove God? Like people, if you got, the Chinese are fascinating with the Jewish people because they're so small. The Chinese population is the biggest population. You say, how come such a small person? Look, we're the biggest in population, but they're the smallest, but they've accomplished as much as we did. That's what they're, the way they see it, okay?
That's interesting.
They say, look at how much they accomplished, and they're so small. We got like 1 billion, 2 billion. Look at, we got a reason.
Especially
So
now.
small, and they find it fascinating. And look at the Koreans are studying Talmud now.
Right, the famous thing
The
with
Asians are all
the
studying-
South
Who is
Korea
studying
The Koreans
sent
and South Korean
sent government officials to
Koreans
Israel
study Talmud
to learn how to learn Gemara and Talmud.
He said the Koreans are learning.
You know, I think it's
to-
I think it's a mistake to talk about Jews and to talk about Chinese and to talk, because I think the Jewish spirituality encompasses all. There's not. I mean, we have here Polish people, Hungarian people, all coming from various areas, but it's not that. It's not the nationality.
Right.
Judaism is not.
It's a human
I mean, we-
experience.
It's a human experience, but it's all. There is an element of nationality, but it's not the same. Israel is not like Europe, and the non-religious Jew in Israel wants to make it like Europe.
Just,
You know,
there's always
but
different
it's
camps.
not. And they will realize that if it gets to a point where, you know,
There's always going to be differing opinions
I mean,
anyway,
you know.
no matter what. There's a famous story from Rabbi Chaim Kramer, who publishes all these Breslov books. He got a call. He says it. I have it. He says this story from a South Korean ambassador. Called him up. He says he wants to meet him at his office. So Rabbi Kramer does all these Breslov books, the small books, the Breslov Research Center, BRI.org. He gets a call from South Korean, and then he says, "Okay, come to my office." Meanwhile, his office is a small little room in the side of the shul, and he's waiting for the ambassador to come with a big stretch limo. Comes in and he sees Rabbi Kramer, and he invites him into the little office. And what do you want from me, the rabbi over here? South Korean ambassador says, "I'm coming as a messenger from my government. We saw your book called The Empty Chair. We want it translated into Korean.
Wow.
We want, if you will do it for us, if you allow us to do it." And he announced, he said, yes. So it's in like already 15 different languages, The Empty Chair. It's a very interesting book. Interesting stuff that's going on in the world.
Goodness.
Okay, so where are we? We have just one more page. Okay.
I enjoy reading.
Okay, great. Yeah, where have you been all night? Okay, hold on a second.
Where do I start?
Let's go
And
to
this corresponds?
49. On the top of 49. You know what? Start from, and this corresponds to, and then we'll get to the
Sure.
next page.
And this corresponds to, now it was found written that Mordecai had told. Mordecai is synonymous with the denial of idolatry.
Okay, go slow, go slow.
I think now it was found written that Mordecai had told, but presumably that was when the king had his dream.
Okay. So yes, he's going to explain here what that is in the next page. So
Yeah.
just a little slower. So 1 second. Now he's giving. Menachem is now giving a proof of how a tzaddik's words go out into the world and affect people from the Megillah, which
That really reinforces what we were just talking about.
about what?
Korea, the Korean ambassador,
Right.
for instance.
Right.
Mordecai is synonymous with the denial of idolatry, for he is called a Jewish man.
Mordechai HaYehudi from Yehud, from Yehuda, which means to acknowledge.
And our sages teach anyone who rejects idolatry is called a Jew.
Well, what does that mean?
Well, that's interesting.
Go to 87. What do you mean? Someone is not Jewish, he's called a Jew? He rejects idolatry?
He's rejecting idolatry.
So we're going to the,
The footnote, please. Yes.
in the book of Esther, we find Ish Yehudi, a Jewish man, lived in Shushan, the capital city. His name was Mordecai. Ish Yemeni, a Benjaminite. The Talmud asks, Mordecai was from the tribe of Benjamin. Why does the verse read Ish Yehudi, as if to say a man from the tribe of Yehuda?
You should say Binyamin.
Yeah. But this is to teach us that whoever denies idolatry, as Mordecai defied Haman and his idolatries, is considered a Jew, Yehudi. The
Maharashah, famous commentator.
Maharsha adds the name Yehuda has all the letters of Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, the Hashem.
For short.
Thus, someone who believes in God, the only God, the very opposite of atheism and idolatry, is duly called a Yehudi. This is also connected with our lesson in that Mordecai, as a Benjaminite, is the concept of the rectification of the altar. He is also called Ish Yehudi because Yehuda is the concept of the
Beauty.
Hitparu.
The beauty.
Thus, by causing Hitparu
The beauty.
to be revealed through a negation of idolatry, a person comes to repent, this being the rectification of the altar.
Okay, so he's going to explain this. We're not finished yet. So,
We were saying anyone who rejects
right,
idolatry
go
is
back
called
up.
a Jew.
Okay.
In other words, the words that Mordecai told, which were words denying idolatry, were inscribed in the air until they came to be found written in their books, as above.
Okay, 88. 1 second.
As above. From this we see that...
I think this has to do when Mordecai heard the two conspirators
Yes.
trying to kill Ahasuerus. They were speaking, I think, in Tarshish, and he understood their language, and he told the king's minister that these two conspirators are trying to kill the king, and they wrote his name in the book, and that's because of that Ahasuerus couldn't sleep. He
Right.
woke up. Who was he ever honored? Right? Haman walked in, honor him. So interesting fact, but I don't understand the connection here yet. So.
Where are we? In other words, the words that Mordecai told, which were words denying idolatry, were inscribed in the air until they came to be found written in their books, as above.
Okay, 1
And
second.
88,
88.
as above. From this we see that whoever rejects idolatry is considered a Jew. He is the, quote, one who is capable of speaking Jewish speech, holy speech. These are the words that are inscribed in the air, later found to contradict the non-Jewish writings.
Okay, keep going.
And this is, now it was found written in
Where
what
were you?
Mordecai
Back up
had
there?
told.
For
As
the
you
words of the
said.
tzaddik?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
The words which Mordecai had told, these being the words of the faith of the true tzaddik, were found written in their books. For the words of the tzaddik went far until they were inscribed and engraved there in their books. By virtue of this, contradictions to their faith are found in their books. Instead, their books contain the holy words which Mordecai, he being the concept of the tzaddik, had told.
Okay, 1 second.